Okay guys, so in this video, I was given permission to show you guys some stuff that's going to be coming out and to talk about it before the big hype video, which as of you guys watching this should be in a few hours. That video is going to be in the description below. Of course, remember, I'm not advertising for them. I'm doing this because I am hyped. I am ready to go, and I just cannot wait to see some amazing stuff. Now, let me make it clear. I don't know everything in this video. In fact, I probably only know, maybe after we go over this today, 25%. Maybe that's too high even, you know? But that's the exciting part. There's a lot of stuff coming with League 4, and I really do trust that it's going to be a very big deal, and we're really going to enjoy it. And so I'm in it, man. I'm ready to go. I want to make some builds. I want to play some stuff. I want to high risk. I want to get into some fights. I want to do some new game modes. I am hyped. But, like I said, in this video, I was given a little bit of content, very little, that I can talk to you guys about before everybody else gets to normally see it. So, if you're somebody that's cool, you know, and you watch my channel, which of course everyone that watches my channel is cool, you're seeing this before literally everybody that doesn't watch my channel. And the focus of this today is high-risk PvP. Specifically, they titled this Making High-Risk PvP Great Again. What I want to do is go over these 3 pages real quick of stuff, all of their philosophies and what's going to be added. This is apparently not all of it, by the way. I'll give my take on it along the way, as I tend to do, but what I also want really badly from you is for you to let me know in the comment section below what you think of everything we go over. By the way, consider becoming a member on this channel. It really helps the channel a lot, and you can do it for super duper cheap, $1.99, for emotes, for extra access to stuff, for a shout out in the video. You know, I'm talking community posts and stuff like that, community polls, access to, you know, my little members only Discord channel for stuff. I mean, all sorts of stuff. It's awesome. Consider that. Like and sub, as I said. But anyway, guys, what I want to do now is, like, just start on this article. So let's begin reading from the top. So they say, making high-risk PvP great again. And they say, one of League 4's goals is to bring back high-risk leveling and make it better than ever before. That's already crazy good. And you might not like PvP, but you have to understand the implications of a change like this. The implications of a change like this is that the open world is actually going to have people in it. Because a PvEer, they're not going to be in the open world anyway, because your whole goal at that point is just to get to max level and raid and do your dungeons and your M+, and that's perfectly fine, by the way. But in a game like Ascension, where it's not super slow like Classic WoW, the only way to consistently get people in the open world is to give them incentive to be in the open world, and that's where high risk comes in. Now, they say new improvements are going to increase the value of the high risk open world. That's a big deal, because people don't make as much as they lose a lot of the times, and that really turns them off outside of cash groups, which is very small, and outside of, well, having people to help you in certain instances, right? Like when you're farming those special nodes where you unlock like high-risk farming, and as you kill the mobs, they drop really good loot, but you can't really do it alone, right? So ultimately it gets owned by guilds. And even then, I've heard sometimes it's not worth it. So anyway, they want to make adventuring into high-risk rewarding, and they want to clean up the endgame high-risk experience to make it great. And cleaning up the endgame high-risk experience is a big deal as well, because typically for me, the high-risk journey ends at level 60. I mean, I have a lot of videos where I do it anyway, right? And we have a lot of fun, but as you probably can tell in those videos, it's going to end. It's not like I can keep doing this the whole season. It's like, okay, for now I can get a little bit of enjoyment out of it, but I know that's going to go away. Why exactly that's happening is really for another video, but yeah, they want to fix some of that, so we'll see if they do it. They go on by saying the overarching goal is to ensure high risk is a net benefit for heroes who choose to venture into it, as well as simplifying the experience to get back to the core high risk, high reward dichotomy of this game mode. So the point, of course, is high risk, but you're actually going to have a chance of getting a lot of stuff back for that risk. And right now, I would argue that there really is no reward. There is a big risk, though. And even if you can minimize the risk, if the reward is tiny, what's the point? So let's see what they do. So first of all, in this picture, we're seeing the hybrid risk guy in all sorts of areas, like in the crossroads. That's really nice. Typically, you were only supposed to be able to do this in capital cities. And then if we go down, we have the first section, which is high risk leveling. So first of all, high risk is now available at level 15 instead of level 20, which is a massive change, by the way, guys, because level 20 is just a little too late, in my honest opinion. Level 15 puts it on par with dungeons, and it opens up the outlaw playstyle, which is going to mean that other people on your faction are going to try to fight you, lets you play the way you want to play sooner, always a good idea. Getting more in alignment with the forking point between doing battlegrounds, dungeons, or playing in the open world, and that is exactly what I was just saying, right? So with the way it was before, you have to think deep about this for a hot second, right? You had level 10 battleground, level 15 dungeon, level 20 high-risk world PvP. But now they put open world on the same level of dungeons, right? right? So the idea could be we're trying to make it to where you want to level in the open world and get out there as soon as possible. Now, they continue that concept with the next bullet point. High risk now gives you 10% more bonus experience. It's a little amount, but in the grand scheme of things, it won't be. You will quite literally, theoretically level 10% faster than everybody else if you go this way. And that's the kind of incentive people need. Now, next up, high risk victims now drop their gear again. So I think this applies to players, right? So when you kill players, I think they must have taken it out where they weren't dropping gear, which is really weird if that did happen, but I don't remember that. But hey, at least they dropped gear again. But then they specify they're not adding the tier system to the leveling experience. It's going to be more regular. You're going to lose kind of like a mosh podge between what you have in your inventory and what you have on. I guess you're really going to want to Felcom stuff. We'll get all into that if this ends up being a thing. Some of you guys might remember what Felcom mutation is. And they say tier system stuff is still only going to apply to max level. And I think that's fine. And then of course they state what we already saw in the picture, which is you can now swap between risk modes in level 10 to 20 towns. And of course that's a really big deal because if this is not in your face, especially as a new player, you're never going to know it's there. One of my major arguments for PvP right now and all these anti-PvP changes is not that I'm trying to force PvP down the throats of people that don't want it, but that people that might want it but don't know it yet, you know, new players that are just discovering the game, it's never in their face. They never encounter it. You know, you put them in a PvE world with war mode that's off by default. Nothing's ever in their face for PvP, and if you're a true new player, you might genuinely think there is no PvP of any significance at all. There are a lot of MMOs where the most you can get into PvP is like a crappy duel where you know the balance is garbage and nobody cares. And in my opinion, those are inferior because a good MMO to me is one in which every aspect of the game is given proper amounts of love and due diligence. And if you're biased against certain parts of it, you shouldn't be designing it, in my honest opinion. So I like this change. I like all of these high risk leveling changes so far. Okay, let's move down to the next thing they sent me. Okay, so now we have end game, right? So what are they going to be doing to the end game? So first of all, they say no more events. All the events are always just going to be active. So I'm a little confused by what they mean by event. Do they mean these things where you had to like purchase a certain item or something like that and then go to these little nodes on the map and then you could start farming mobs for certain things? Because if those are always active all the time, that would be pretty lit. I guess we'll figure that out. Let me know if I'm getting that wrong. I'm trying to get this out quick before, you know, their video goes live. Next, we have drop rates are drastically increased. That is a big deal. So what I'm assuming that means is when you're farming mobs in the open world, the rate that you're going to get relevant loot is going to go up when you're in high risk mode. This is a big deal because you need to be able to get high reward, as they said. So this is good philosophically speaking. So the concept is going to be as you're farming elite mobs in, let's say, the southern part of Winterspring, right? You're going to have a higher chance of getting epic loot that's going to be sellable for a decent amount or usable, which is potentially even better. And so what this means is that if you want to make money by going into high risk and farming mobs all day and you want to take that risk, it's very likely that if you have enough diligence and a little bit of competence, you might be able to literally die a couple times and it might not even matter. Do you know what I mean? Because you might actually still come out of it with a lot of money made. So I like the drop rates being increased. They say uncommon materials now stack up to 200 and are not lost on death. So there are special PvP materials. There's actually a lot of them. It's a little convoluted and confusing for the newer player. Maybe we can go more into it when we get into it. So now being able to have those green uncommon materials stack up to 200 because they're very common, of course. And the fact that they're not completely lost on death, I think that's a pretty good deal. They also say this guarantees every adventure into the open world has a reward that matches the risk. One thing I kind of want Ascension to do, it's actually my personal idea though, it's actually taking from Dragonflight but also from other games, is to really go hard into the profession system. I would like to see them get the Dragonflight profession equipment UI where you can equip your mining pickaxes and stuff like that. In fact, that's something I'm working on right now on a personal project. Really give people a true reason to not just, you know, purchase a way to boost their profession to max, but actually want to level those professions. So they say secret merchants now reside all over Azeroth, and if you see you have a shady dealer in the screenshot there, black market artisan supplies, I'm looking at food, right? Fused clear-cut chops, fused vibrant chops, imbued vibrant chops, and above that imbued clear-cut chops. So food probably with good buffs. They sell rare and epic high-risk recipes, as we just saw, and this is in addition to the existing ways to farm them, which apparently exists in PvE. And that's good, because this means if you really want to go hard on PvP stuff, you can get what you need. I do like this philosophy, by the way. It's not the first time they've put this philosophy to test. I've noticed when I was checking out PvP the other day that some of the best enchants, I'm assuming the best enchants that you would want for PvP are actually farmable and buyable with honor. together, which I think is a good idea. I'm not a big fan of creating tribes. I think that humans have a proclivity towards entering into little baby tribes and then hating each other because they have like slight differences in belief. I think it's really cringe. I think when you have a little bit of introspection, you stop doing that, at least subconsciously, right? But I do think one good workaround for this tribalism type stuff is just to give both sides the ability to do what they want to do, but also to seamlessly integrate both sides eventually as well, so that both sides want to dabble in the other side's stuff. A good way to do that is making stuff farmable on both sides of the spectrum that actually affect each side. So I don't know if that was too convoluted and crazy, but the point is, if I can earn these recipes in PvP, but these recipes are still usable in PvE, then as a PvPer that might want to dabble in PvE, I can do that, and I'm not horribly behind, and vice versa. And that's good design. Now I'll quit talking and go down to the next bullet point. Greedy demons have had a complete automated loot rework, and now have improved loot that evolves during the progression of the realm. I think in all of my time in Ascension, I've only seen a greedy demon in the open world like once or twice. I kind of wish I saw these a lot more. Could just be me. I think the one time I remember it was in Ungoro or something. But essentially, they're like little dudes that you kill and they drop loot. Kind of like in Diablo, which is a cool concept, by the way. But that's good. Automated loot rework. They have improved loot. I do want to see that. And then we have the Crow's Cache, which is just group PvP. It's really hard to get into that, unfortunately. But they do have their own little meta and stuff. And I know the people that like Crow's Cache are like really into it. And so I'm happy that they're happy with this. But it basically says Crow's Cache progression has been more seamlessly automated to ensure it always has great progression and relevant drops in that regard. So cool. Now they go on to say about the merchants, new merchants hidden throughout the world offer high-risk recipes to adventurers who find them. This helps heroes get their hands on their essential high-risk recipes in a new way, providing more opportunities to engage with high risk and further weave the game mode into the economy of Ascension. And that's what I was saying as well. The idea of interwoven PvE and PvP, where both sides can get into the other side of things if they want to, and they're not going to feel horribly behind. That's a great idea, so I do like this so far. To me, the biggest thing is potentially the no more events, if that works the way I think it might, but also drop rates being drastically increased means that people are going to have more of a reason to actually farm in the open world, and that means people can go with the whole prey and predator thing and start hunting you, and that's the true high risk, right? And then also the true high reward. Ultimately, killing players and getting their loot is actually like a minor part of the reward. The real reward in high risk is going out in the open world and it's suddenly having more incentive to be there and play within it in a way that PvE, by the way, just simply doesn't have. Here's the sad truth. The economy is going to be in shambles in a universe where you can just farm and be immune to every player and get whatever you want from all the mobs in the open world in an increased way. And I know what you might be thinking, the economy's already in shambles, McDoubles. I get that, but I don't want it to be worse. So people say, I don't want to be forced into PvP, but here's the thing. There's no way to balance this open world stuff where you can just be immune to all damage and just, you know, for 24 hours, 48 hours, farm stuff at an increased crazy high rate and just get whatever you want and make loads of money. But in high risk, where there's always that idea that you tried to go for it, but somebody stomped you out and got your stuff, that at least adds something to it. In other words, you could lose that stuff now, even if you did sit there for 20 hours. I think that's a good change. I like this overall, and so yeah, that looks pretty good to me. But it's not everything. We need more. This brings me to the very last thing he sent me, and I think this might be one of the biggest parts, and so really think about this. Even though it's short, we've got bloody jar changes. It now costs gold to convert items to Bloodforged. Now, before it was free, and so the problem is the auction house was just full of Bloodforged garbage. Now we're gonna get an opposite effect though, because if it costs gold to convert items to Bloodforged, the price of Bloodforged goes up significantly. It's no longer a cheap thing. I guess you could still pay to win it if you wanted, but you're gonna pay a lot. And you know what? In that regard, it's not bad. But let's read on. They say, with the addition of new gear acquisition for PvE, there was a lack of balance between Soulbound and Bloodforged. Soulbound being stuff you can't trade, Bloodforged being stuff you can, but also PvP focused. This change aims to increase the value of high-risk open world, and they say over time, there has been a significant increase in the volume of gear obtained from PvE that then obviously gets bloodied, right, and becomes Bloodforged. And this had the downstream consequence of all unneeded gear being bloodied, as I said, and then sold for incredibly small amounts and nullifying the open world. So how many times did I think, oh my god, I just got so many epics off this kill. I go to the freaking auction house, I make 75 gold. What the hell? Off like a item level 72 piece of gear when MC is as high as you can go? Well, that's cringe. So if we actually can make it to where when you get these epic pieces of gear, they're actually worth something, I think that's a big deal. And lastly, they say disenchanting a high-risk item now always results in a high-risk enchanting material. And this idea of specifically removing high-risk stuff from the game is also a very good idea. So you're gonna have more incentive to do that now through enchanting. So those are all the teaser things that he showed me, guys. And I've got to say, I'm pretty excited for this. I think these are a very good start to high risk. And these are potentially not all of the changes. Let's keep that in mind. It could very well be that there's going to be a lot more. He said the article that they're going to put out on their website going over everything they want to do in League 4 is going to be massively long. I'm going to read it all, of course. And now we wait, my friends. We wait for the video to come out that tells us all about League 4. I'm then going to try to release a kind of like a synopsis video to go over the highlights, the major points, what's actually something to really keep in mind. A short video, of course, compared to what they do. And yeah, we're going to prep. I really hope this is coming out within a week, by the way. I really hope they don't say the launch date is like July. I hope it's June, but we'll see. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, though. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Major thanks to all the members on my channel. Love and appreciate you guys, but I'll see all of y'all in the next one. Big Doubles out.